tonight was Devra, and I did say that correctly. Devra has been a professional intuitive life coach for over 30 years. Her unique connection with Archangel Michael since the age of 6 provides a multidimensional view of what is happening in someone's life. She does not channel Michael. He speaks directly with her. Many times in readings, other people's spirits, guides, or relatives that have passed over will also give her information and join in. Fascinating. Well, hello and welcome, Devra.
Hi, I'm
Hi.
here.
Hey, did I say your name correctly?
Yes, it's Devra, Devra. I always tell people say Devil, Devra.
Thank you. That's much easier. Devra. Okay. Thank you, Devra. And welcome to our show. I'm really excited that you're here and bless your heart. And so I want to get right in. I love the fact how I've been all over your website and you brought some great guests over to us. Thank you very much, by the way. But
You're welcome.
I wanted to tell you that I think it's fascinating. You really, you made a point of saying you do not channel, and which is interesting because a lot of people, it seems like that's kind of like what goes on. But
I got corrected last night by Lynn Andrews, who told me that there are 15 different ways or more of channeling, and the fact that I can hear Michael and talk to him is still considered a form of channel. I was like, okay, I'm not going to argue with a 20
That's right. You
book
can call it
author.
trance, or you're in hallucination with it. You've got a really unique relationship. That's all that matters with him. And I think that's just, I can't wait for the show because, well, first of all, I'm going to get right into it with you. Here we go. How long have you worked with Archangel Michael?
Well, I've been talking to him since I was 6 years old. He says he's actually been around since birth, but the first time I remember hearing him and seeing him, I was 6. And I've just sort of had him around ever since.
That's kind of nice because, when you were younger and everything, by the time you get to 10, we're all conditioned. Well, not me, but most people are conditioned, right? And they forget about maybe their communication with angels or their whatever other people want to call them, imaginary friends. So from the time you were 6, you never shut them down. I mean, it's like it just kept going.
I couldn't shut him down. It was very interesting because I did go through periods of my life where I would get angry about certain information I was getting, or I was pretty much a hellion in high school. And, he would stop me from having fun, although he did save my life many times because I was wild as heck. But, I just could never really shut him down. I think the longest I went without hearing him was almost a year. And it was just, I was so mad, and I was working in some deep, deep, heavy magic arts. And just basically said, no more, go away. And it took about a year for me to get out of that and go, okay, are you still around? And of course he was.
It's probably, good. It was probably all a big part of the plan there for you to do that with him,
absolutely.
obviously.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, that's the way I look at things because that's this is really, really lovely because I don't know. It's I've never, I'm not real into I'm not saying I don't believe angels. All I know is what I know, and I've never had any contact with angels in any form. I know people have, and so it fascinates me. And with your situation even more so because even though
I
like
didn't even know who he was for many, many, many years. I mean, I was in my early 20s when a person I had met that I was going to study with, when I walked in, said, "What's Archangel Michael doing with you?" And I looked over at him and I was like, "You're an archangel."
Oh.
Okay. I just knew him as Michael.
Oh, wow. So did you know, what did you think? He was just some...
I knew he was an angel because several times when I had been very sick, he had what I call popped his wings
Mm.
and I saw wings and I saw light.
Oh,
So I
cool.
knew he was an angel, but I don't know. I guess I don't have a big enough ego to. I was like, oh yeah, it's an archangel.
Yeah.
No, I just never went there. Have you ever seen the movie
Yes,
Michael with John
Michael.
Travolta?
Yes.
That's my
Yes.
Michael. He's very sarcastic. He's very laid back, and if I'm working with a client who doesn't want to listen to what he's saying, he'll draw his sword. And he was a warrior when he was on Earth, and he still acts like that with me.
No, in fact, I was reading about that. I think I read it on your web. I was having a fun time on your website and everything. And I loved the way he portrayed Archangel Michael. I think that was fantastic. John Travolta, the way he portrayed him. So when I
It was
read about
awesome.
that, I
That
was
was
like
like one of my
envisioning
all-time
how
favorite
cool.
movies. I'm like watching it going, Michael, you got a movie.
Well, maybe they had some insight to it too before they even did that movie to make him the character they was. I don't know. uh, well, so you mentioned about someone mentioned to you the other night about you're not telling him. So how do you hear him? Do you hear his voice or?
I hear his voice in my head. Now I sound like a lunatic. No, I
Oh.
hear him just like I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally he'll show up, and I'll see him visually. He doesn't often do that. He only tends to do that if I'm very, very ill.
Oh.
But I hear him and I sense him. I always know where he is in the room. But like when I'm doing client sessions with people, he'll bring along friends, like whoever their guides are, or people that have passed over that were close to them in their life. And, sometimes I can have a whole room.
Oh, just so cool. Do you offer
I've
them a
gotten
little?
so used to it. To me, it's just like, okay, I'm done with the client. You can all leave now.
He sounds, this is, I mean, it's like I said, I'm just so fascinated by this because I'm envisioning this in my head. So when you hear him, and I know what you're talking about, because like I don't like nobody talks in my ear, but it's almost like in the voice of silence I get something or whatever. But I always thought it was so fascinating. Like you can hear probably in a better way, like if someone's saying words in your mind, but it would almost be like in the way that we would be talking, or I'd be talking in your ear, but still, it may be in another plane, right? But it's very clear what you're hearing in
Yeah, it's
word form.
absolutely clear. When he's here, now keep in mind, and this is something I bring up because Michael is not always here, and I can't summon him. He happened to show up about an hour ago because we had a disaster in the new house we moved into, and the washing machine was overflowing all over the place. And I was at my computer, and I kind of heard Michael go look at the washer. And I got up and went in there, and of course it's water falling all over the place. And so he's been around, but just because I'm on a radio show doesn't mean he's going to show up.
Well, I think that's kind of rude. No,
I think
I'm
he's really
joking. Don't
busy
tell
with
that.
a lot of other stuff and a lot of other people. He communicates with a lot of people
I know.
differently with
must,
different
and-
people, but
Wow. I wanted to ask you something. When you connected with him, at 6 years old, and time went on, you didn't really know, and you said it wasn't until you were in your 20s and you were partying or doing whatever like I did, whatever, destructive
we all
things.
did.
Well, did you feel, did you know at the time that you would end up would you be doing the work that you do now, such as the work?
Actually, no. When I always stayed on an enlightened path. I mean, I was always very, very interested in magic and witchcraft and Carlos Castaneda, and I mean anything that was metaphysical I was always into. And my family just thought I was very strange. I grew up in a very conservative Jewish family, and they just thought I was weird. And the only time they ever acknowledged that I had any communication with Michael was if they lost something, and the first thing they'd do is call me because Michael's great at finding stuff. But otherwise, it was my invisible friend for a lot of years. I never told anybody until probably my second year of high school, just a couple very close friends that I communicated with anyone because I didn't want people to think I was a nutcase.
Right. And they wouldn't
And
believe it anyway.
I wanted to be a lawyer when I was in high school. So
it's interesting.
I didn't want anybody thinking I was really weird.
Mm. Is anybody else that you know?
I did start working with clients when I was probably about 23.
Mm-hmm.
To actually answer your question.
Well, no, it's okay. I like how this is going because I was wondering because I can identify with how you ended up doing the work. I can identify with what you just said. Did you find that anybody that when you told them, like in high school or whatever, did any of them open up to the idea, or did they kind of think it was cutesy, or did any of them end up later on, like when you got when you started doing the work?
My family ignored it.
Right.
And my friends, I only had a few very close friends, and my very close friends experienced things where they just, of course, they were always telling everybody I was a witch, but they, things were happening, like there were kidnappings and murders going on of children when I was like a junior in high school. And I would be sitting at breakfast with my friends, and they would tell me I would blank out, and I would start describing someplace. And at that point, I guess I was channeling Michael.
Yeah, exactly.
And the next day, the newspaper would come out, we'd be at breakfast, and they'd show a picture of where they found one of these children, and it would be exactly as I described it. But I didn't remember describing it. My friends were taking notes. And then, there were several times where Michael would say, you don't want to smoke that, or you don't want to take that. And, it would end up turning out that he was actually saving me and my friends' lives.
Right.
So, they couldn't ignore it. They didn't really know what to think about it. They would always say, well, Devra, what's your take on it? And they didn't understand that it was an angel that I was talking to. They just knew I had access to information they didn't.
Right. So they accepted the fact there was some strange and interesting loveliness at some sort, keeping you safe as well.
You also got to remember, I grew up outside of San Francisco in the early 70s.
Yeah.
And so all of my friends were like stoners.
Yeah. No, you know what?
It's like they'd believe anything.
That two of us do on here. Yes, things are different, and it was usually to suppress the fact that there was anything going on within you. I know for me, I ran away and wanted just to I didn't want to think anything weird was going on, like maybe you have an angel, but I didn't. I had other things going on.
Yeah, but you have other gifts, and everybody has different gifts, and you kind of feel like, I think, I'm assuming you felt like this, where you're a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
You don't fit anywhere. You don't understand why you don't fit anywhere. And usually it takes, especially women, until they're in their late 30s, early 40s to start investigating why they don't fit.
Yeah.
And finding out that they're not alone.
If you make it through to that and you don't do yourself in, and that's, I understand because we grew up at the same time period. In the time period in San Francisco, woohoo! I used to love going up there for the Grateful Dead concerts.
Me too. I grew up in Sunnyvale. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Long Beach, but
oh, okay. You were in the Beach Boy group.
Well, yeah, I grew up on I was a girl, but we still when I was younger, I had some older friends. We'd drive up, and we would hang out in 73.
Go to Big Sur and
go to Dead, follow the Deads. All. But that was a fun time. But we made it through. But it's nice to hear of other people. Sometimes I don't get to talk about that much, but it's really nice that you had someone looking after you, because it is emotionally isolated if you don't know where you fit and your family doesn't get it or they don't embrace it. Of course, it's okay, but
I was really defiant. I don't know about you, but I was very defiant, and if I was one of those kids that was sneaking out at 16 and my parents had no idea. And all of my boyfriends like 5 years older than me, and so I never hung with high school people, and I was a wild child, and Michael was there. I mean, one night my friends and I were driving up. I tell this story on a lot of shows, but it's a great story because we were driving up this mountain in my girlfriend's Mustang, and we were going to this keg party that was in the middle of nowhere in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And we're driving through all these curves, and suddenly I feel Michael's hand on my chest, and he says, "Turn around." And of course we're not, we're all half lit, and I'm like, "Hey, you guys, we need to turn around." Michael says to turn around. They're like, "No, we're going to the party. We're almost there." And it got so strong that I knew that if I didn't stop the car and turn around, Michael was going to do it for me. And so I stopped the car, and within seconds, suddenly there were all these police cars flying by us heading toward the party. And then suddenly there were all these kids' cars coming off the mountain screaming, "Somebody's been shot." And so he saved us. We probably would have gotten shot or arrested.
Yeah, or something that wasn't such a good thing.
Yeah, definitely was not such a good thing.
Well, what a great thing to have. See, that's someone on your side that has your back. Definitely. That probably helped you
I remember my girlfriend and I were someplace one night where we weren't supposed to be, and Michael saying, "The police are coming." And we couldn't get out of the bar, but we managed to duck down and hide behind the bar. And, of course, it gets raided, and they didn't find us. And we were minors, so we would have been in a bunch of trouble.
Yeah. So, you thrive through, and here you are to help people in. See, it's all part of the plan as far as I'm concerned. I wanted to ask you also, what do you think, it's interesting because we all call ourselves, we have these, names, a lot of people are calling themselves now. And, I know Brenda and I are the wisest elders on, well, there's four of us on this week that host. Isn't that interesting? There's four of us host, and we anchor, rotate, but Brenda and I are the most wisest of like fine wine to grow older. We're a little bit in the same age.
You're fermenting like me.
Yeah, you and I, Brenda. Anyway, it's fascinating how I lost my thought, but
I can totally relate to all that stuff. I'm just listening, going, yes, I remember Big Sur. I remember hitchhiking up and down the coast when you could actually hitchhike without being killed.
Oh, you guys are my kind of people.
Yeah, I definitely.
Well, and to answer your question, which I think is where you were going, is what I consider myself is I am psychic, but what I do as a job is I'm an intuitive life coach. I don't do like a tarot reading where, and I think there's great, amazing people out there that do. I'm just not gifted that way. I talk to Michael. So what I do when I work with clients is, as an intuitive life coach, we try and figure out what it is in their life skills that's preventing them from meeting their soulmate or acquiring, financial freedom or whatever. And I went to school to become a mental health counselor to try and give some credence to the psychic side of it. I couldn't stand being in the mental health system. And so now I work exclusively through Shirley MacLaine's website, and I do intuitive life coaching. Is that what you were trying to ask?
Yeah, very impressive, by the way, I would like to say.
I thank you. That's pretty good credentials, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I never went public. I did clients only by referral for probably 28 years until I was asked if I wanted to do this with Shirley MacLaine's website. And I went, well, heck, how do you say no to that?
You don't. You don't.
So now I'm here doing all these radio interviews and things and working with lots of people.
No, I think that's really lovely. I loved looking at that you do everything through her. I mean, I'd love to get on her, I guess. But she's, no, that's fantastic. I think that's very, and I know, and the way you present it, it's not like, oh, I'm on Shirley MacLaine's. It's very, it's deserving, I'm sure, with who you are about,
Thank you.
You deserve, exactly. You know what I mean.
Yeah, she's very picky. She's very picky about who.
Yes, she is, I'm sure, and that's
as she should be, and
exactly.
She's an amazing, amazing, amazing woman, and I am not her personal psychic.
Right. And you don't claim to. I know you don't write. You didn't write that down to be the case either. But the
No.
fact that there's a connection and you have to be invited is good enough for me or anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, you talked about, it's interesting. Why don't I want to? Okay, I don't want to ask you why don't you use things like tarot, but you said you have Michael. Like for instance, I use the tarot. Brenda does, and now Steve does in a different way. And I'm not Steven. I'm Steven. We have two Steves. Steven does, but his is a bit different. But Brenda and I go off. We're the old school where I don't really need them in front of me. I have
Right.
I'm self-taught in every way, but I go off the cards. I just kind of, put them aside, and how I learned was just drawing the pictures what I saw or felt.
Right. That's it's. I tell people. Well, Michael told me this, and I agree with him on this. When we birth in to each lifetime, if you imagine you're standing in front of this huge orchestra and there's millions of different kinds of things that you could play, if you come in and you're meant to play the violin or read tarot and you try to play the piano, you are going to be highly disappointed. So, when people go to seminars and things and it's like, oh, I'm going to read auras, and they can't, and they get all frustrated after they go through the class because they're not reading auras. They can't see an aura. It's just because maybe they were supposed to play the cello.
Exactly.
And so you've got to find that gift. You are an empath. You empath.
Yes.
And now, Michael, this is from Michael. You empath your information. But because when you started this, you didn't have enough faith in yourself for it to be true, you use the cards as a way to prove. See, that's what the card says. See what the little book says. But now you've gotten to a point where you have the trust in the universe and your guides that you don't need the cards.
Oh, Michael was just there, and he said it's very interesting that you point that out because I'll tell you something. You just said Michael just said that, right?
Yeah.
No, I didn't plan for him to say.
Yeah, Michael's talking.
Okay, I did understand that correctly because it's fascinating you say that because it is interesting because it is for me to make sense of whatever it is. It helps. How he just put it was so eloquently right. I mean,
now the other woman, because Michael's interrupting me. The other woman that you're talking, Brenda.
Brenda, yes, Brenda. There you are.
Are you there?
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. He wants to know if you've ever worked with a pendulum because that's the gift you have.
I've worked with a pendulum a lot. As a matter of fact, when I was working a straight job before I became a full-time psychic, I was working in aerospace, and I was working with all these men, and they would have a football pool, and I know nothing about football. And so I had a paperclip and a string, and everybody was picking like who the winners were going to be. And so I would just put the names on the paper and use the paper clip, and I'd pick it, and they just were going crazy. Oh my God, Brenda's ahead. Brenda's winning the pool. It was like crazy.
Yeah, well, that's because that's your violin. He says you should work with it more. Get yourself something better than a paper clip.
Oh, I have several pendulums actually. I use it when I do Reiki, like when I teach my Reiki class, and I go over and I go over the chakras. I use that.
Well, there's a whole lot of newer books out about how to use pendulums. And so Michael's just saying he just wanted you to have that information that's
thank
that's
you.
Violin.
That's cool. I like that, Brenda.
Paperclip,
very, very.
Isn't that funny?
Innovated.
And he's telling me for you, Maureen. It's Maureen, right? I'm botching names really bad today.
It's okay. So
Is that right? Okay, that's right. He's telling me that you should diversify in your cards because you're going to find there's a deck out there that will speak to you with a lot more clarity so you don't get frustrated and toss the cards aside. Tarot were developed for men. They carry male energy, so tarot can be a little frustrating for women. That's why women tend to, unless they have a really high masculine level, they will tend to get away from use of tarot. But he's telling me he sees these bigger cards that are really pretty cards that are more a universal oracle type of deck that you would do really well with.
I'll check it out because I went to a smaller deck about 18 years ago because I had arthritis in my hand. But no, that I'll check into. I'll be open to that. Absolutely. Thank you. I
Cool.
like that. We're getting the benefit. Sorry, guys. It's about the girls tonight because the other two guys is too bad. But
I really upset a man caller on another show I was on last week because I made a comment about energy levels in women versus men. And boy, that phone lit up fast. It's not, we do things differently. It's not one's better or one's more accurate or one's got better energy, but we do have completely different energy.
Yeah, we do. Women rule. Yeah, no, we do. And I do have a bit of masculine. I think I have a bit of not that I think I just, well, that's just another story, or show, but yeah, I agree with that. And because, well, men die usually sooner than women. I mean, before women because of the way they're...
Yeah, that actually, Michael's saying, is going to start changing.
Really?
Because
oh, wow.
women are trying to live as men in professional worlds.
Right.
And so they're going to start... They already have, he says.
Yes, they have.
English, Michael. Michael's like going into French and all these different languages. And so we're going to pick up the exact same traits that that men have always had, that they died from, because we're doing the same things to our bodies.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I get it. I get what you're saying. I follow you. Well, that's...
Yeah, we didn't have the stress that we have now.
That's true, and you're absolutely right. That makes a lot of sense. Well, then maybe it'll be enough men and women. Maybe the women won't be so alone because their husbands are gone. They'll all be... Never mind, I'm going into where my mom lives and my dad.
You just
whatever.
Gotta go get another.
The ratio
guy.
is just not enough for these women.
This model wore out. I want a new one.
Well,
you can tell I'm single, right?
Yeah. So how should someone pick the right person for a reading? Do you...
you did read my website.
I did.
I really get into that because if you don't resonate with someone, and I don't care how famous somebody is or how expensive they are or how cheap they are, and this is why I call every client before to set up the reading. If we get on the phone and there's no resonance between us, I'm not going to be able to give an accurate reading to this person. And I will cancel it.
Yeah.
It's just Michael's saying, it's just like how you should be picking a doctor or a lawyer or anything else. You interview them. If you get a number or a referral for somebody and they say, oh, they're really, really good, they may be really, really junky with you because there wasn't a resonance.
There wasn't a connection. It's like if they're a good therapist, I can go through a million of them.
Right.
Sorry, I revealed
it. And you hit that one, and it's like when you talk to somebody on the phone, it's like you and I are connecting extremely well.
Right. Yes.
There's that flow of energy. If you go to make an appointment with somebody, one, if they won't talk to you beforehand, I won't do it.
Right.
If it's an in-person one and you feel the slightest bit uncomfortable, get up and leave.
Right. I agree with that, everybody. Listen up in the chat. We have a great chat room listening to us, too. Besides, the archives will come on. But I agree with that.
Do they have any questions?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm not in the chat room so much. I asked my co-hosts if they have any questions tonight with you. I thought because it was such a great topic. Like, Brenda's, interested in boys, if you do, but or in the chat room, let me know. But this is what I've been. I haven't been dying, but I've been excited. Maybe kind of metaphor about this dragon. I mean, remember I was going to do the show on top. I was going to, have the topic called. I talked to you about that dragon energy. I've never heard of it. Can you tell us?
I love dragons.
Yeah. Wait. You know what? One thing, before we go into that, we need to take a commercial. And that way we can come in for a clean break on a clean slate on that one. So we'll be right back after a commercial break from psychicaccess.com.
A new era in psychic services has begun. PsychicAccess.com. You can connect with our psychic advisors by telephone or chat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All of our psychic advisors are interviewed, fully verified, and accuracy tested, assuring you quality service. We're living in some very troubled times right now. More and more, the world's problems are affecting us on a personal level. You don't have to deal with this alone. Our highly accurate psychics, caring advisors, and talented mediums can help with situations you are currently experiencing and can let you know what the future may hold for you. All new customers get a free 6-minute reading. All you have to do is register. Why not visit us now and get a free reading at PsychicAccess.com.
Okay, and we're back, and this is one of the things I've been just not dying, but just anxious to ask. What is a dragon energy? The dragon.
Well, dragons are real. Dragons
Right.
are real, just like in the old Merlin stories. The only difference is once humans started killing off the dragons during around the time that Christianity was coming in, and they decided they must be the devil. At that point, God, creator, whatever you want to call it, pulled them out of this dimension and out of physical form and put them strictly in spirit form.
Right.
The dragons, I started working with the dragons about 18 years ago, and I do it in dream work. I've known a few people that worked with dragons in meditation, but I can't meditate to save my you-know-what. So I do everything in dream work. But dragon energy is a higher, faster vibration. So if you're trying to manifest something and you want to manifest it fast, and you access this dragon energy, the dragons are the ones that maintain the ley lines and energies of the planet. And so they don't really care about us except for us messing up the planet. But you can access them just like people do angels or spirit guides or animal spirits. You do the exact same thing. You just envision the dragon and you call them in and meet them. And everybody's got dragons around them. They're everywhere.
So, how do we know that? I mean, let me see. I understood what you just. I followed what you just said, but as far as they're positive, they're a positive.
Oh yeah, they're only a positive energy. The reason that humans got confused about it is dragons are here to protect the planet. So if a dragon flew into a village and burned all their crops down because they were infested with boll weevils, the villagers, because they had become Christians, were told that these were evil beings that were going to kill and destroy them. Because, we
Right.
never try to understand something we don't know. We just automatically fear it. And so they started killing the dragons. And the dragons are wonderful. They live in the golden cities, and they maintain a lot of the balance on the planet. They clean the oceans, and they restore the ley line energy grids and actually fly through the planet and pop out in these vortexes. Everybody's always talking about the energy of vortexes.
Mm-hmm.
It's because there's so much dragon energy in there.
Right.
And that picture where Michael's slaying a dragon, he's throwing this in here because he hates this picture. It isn't Michael slaying a dragon. Michael would never slay a dragon. Michael joined dragon energy, and there's a guy named Peter Tung, Tounge, I think, in Canada. And on his website, he talks about that picture of Michael slaying the dragon and what it really meant, what the artist really meant by it. But they're wonderful. They're all good. I'll tell you the cool thing about dragons to me and how I use them in readings with people is dragons allow me to see multi-dimensions of outcomes. So if during a reading, and that's another reason I haven't been using tarot for a lot of years, is when you throw cards, you throw the outcome. Like based on existing conditions, this is what the future will hold. Because everything changes in an instant, if you're talking to a client and they say, oh, that would be neat, maybe I should go back to school, boom, their entire outcome changes. The dragons can show me this in my dream work the night before a reading based on this, or this. These are the different outcomes that the person could have.
Right. Well, like every negative, like I look at it, every negative can be a positive in a what I call whatever I have to do with the future. So the dragon, symbolically will come through messages will come through your dreams. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got
it. I like when I'm working with clients, I have them write out their list of questions the night before. And then Michael and the dragons bring me answers in dream work the night before. It limits me because I can only work with one client a day because I found I was getting people's information confused. But, they bring this to me, and usually I will answer all of their questions by the end of the reading.
Right.
And Michael tends to come up with a lot of stuff that they weren't even thinking about. And it's interesting to me because what we think consciously we want or we need, usually I find with clients that there's an underlying, like I was telling you, life skill of something that's missing. And can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, sure. I love to.
This is a great story. This was a client I had 11, 12 years ago. And he was very, very concerned. He wanted a soulmate. That's all he wanted, was to find love in his life. And Michael went, well, you have a major problem. You have to redecorate your house and your wardrobe. And the guy was like, huh? He says, all you have in your house is black, white, and gray. All you wear to work is black, white, and gray. So you have no love energy in your life whatsoever. I want you to go out and buy all new clothes, buy things with color, but buy new dishes, buy new drapes, buy a couch cover. And it turned out Michael was right. Everything in his house was black and white. And all of his clothes were suits that were black, white, and white shirts or gray. And so he did that. He went out, and I loved it that he took it on complete faith and went and changed all this stuff. And within a few weeks called me and said, you won't believe it, I met the most incredible person.
I love that story. What you said was interesting because I always tell people, this is one thing I've always kept in my mind. The things that we think we do not need or want are the things we need the most. So by him changing these things, it's almost like in the parallel, kind of what you were saying.
Yeah, he didn't think he needed color in his life.
Exactly.
He didn't understand there was any importance to color energy. One person never had a pet. She wouldn't even own a fish. She wanted no responsibility at all for anything, to care for anything. But when she called me, the only thing she wanted to know was when she was going to get married and have children.
Yeah.
And Michael was like, you won't even own a fish and you want a child?
Yeah, I guess not a talking. No, but it's the same thing. What you said is, completely in the same, without different. It's a little bit of a different wording, and I tell people those things because I know from personal experience, my own knowing that occurred with me, and I figured out, oh my gosh, things I didn't think. Well, I needed that, or I needed to do that in order to, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so Michael is, of course, very aware of the dragon energy.
Yes. He works with the dragons. All angels work with the dragons.
Right, I guess so.
They're all interconnected, multidimensional. So if, I'm guessing from what Michael's told me, if they need help, let's say there's a whole bunch of humans building on a coastline that is going to be in problems. The dragons will explain to the angels because the angels work with humans. You guys need to go talk to them. You guys need to go work with them because they're destroying this coastline.
Yeah.
And we'll bring an earthquake to knock them off of there if they don't move.
Knock it off. Yeah. They
Yeah,
don't
and they
step
do
it up.
things like that. I mean, dragons can create tsunamis if they need to cleanse the ocean in a certain place. Sometimes you'll get a tsunami, and humans get in the way of them. I think sometimes they don't do it intentionally to hurt anybody.
No, I agree with you. I think that's something that's part of our awakening. It wasn't like I always tell people, the minds weren't going to let us off the hook that easy and let us die off.
That's
No
right.
way. We have some things
We're
we got
like
to deal with.
renting space on this planet, I think.
That's right. Well, I wanted to know about, because I'd like you to tell people, what else do you do? You're such a visionary businesswoman too.
Well, I'm a literary agent. I represent authors to publishers.
Fine authors too, I might add.
I represent all kinds of people, from first-time authors to people that are extremely experienced, New York Times best-selling kind of authors. And I don't see any difference between any of them. And then I have done a lot of publicity, as you know, because you keep getting people to book because of me. I do a lot of PR for clients.
And again, thank you, because I've had some wonderful, and I know, I don't even know, well, I've told everybody.
I've got more coming.
Good, I'd be happy to have them, because both my shows were fantastic, I felt. So, do you use your gift in your work, in your, I don't like to call it
in my agent work? Absolutely.
As an agent, yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I have people send me manuscripts, and then I laugh and tease people that Michael and I read them together. I interview them on the phone, and if they aren't walking their talk, I won't represent them. If they're only interested in making money and it has nothing to do with the work, I won't represent them. If there's no resonance between us, Michael will tell me right away, because I don't want to. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the work. I don't know if you know this about me. This might be a surprise. For 9 years, I owned an international magazine called Mystic Pop.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I started a magazine. God, this was a lot of years ago. I wanted to bring information that was really good information to the planet, and I had this magazine that was beautiful. It was full color. It was in all the bookstores and everything.
I've heard of that. I have heard of. I remember that, hearing about. Well, anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mystic Pop was a great magazine.
Right.
I had to sell it when my mother got cancer, and I had to take care of her. But I've always used this gift, and I think this is where people really mess up, is they think this gift is for Sundays, or they think it's for when their friend has a problem. They don't understand, if you take whatever your instrument is you're supposed to be playing and apply it to your life, to every single moment of your life becomes amazing. You're not going to make bad mistakes.
Right.
If you're accessing it. Now, occasionally something will slide through, of course, because you have lessons you've got to learn along the way too. Right.
Well, that's part of it. Part of all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like what you said about you won't take any. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter if they're best, or if they're new or whatever. I like that, because you don't worship the money. I mean, we all need things to pay we all need something to, something to pay our way, and
well, and
bills.
I have no problem with becoming rich either.
Yeah.
One of my dear friends, Glennis McCants, who's an amazing, internationally known numerologist, I always quote her on this. She says, "God would not have put us on a planet that costs money if we weren't supposed to have it."
Well, I like that.
Isn't that
I like
great?
that. I like that. Especially for people that do the work. You have a lot of integrity. I can hear that. I mean, I not just hear it, but I feel that you do. And
well, thank you.
I think that's the most important thing. I really do, and I stand by that. I really feel, and you can say you have integrity all you want, but when you have integrity, and you really do, it can be it can be difficult when you meet other people that don't.
Oh, yeah,
And
you think?
it just breaks your heart.
Trust me, that's one of the hardships of the business I'm in, because when I'm negotiating contracts with big publishers that are publishing New Age metaphysical books, but there is not a New Age bone in their body. I have actually at one time in a very bad argument with somebody said, maybe you should read some of those books you publish.
Yeah, exactly. That's very true. Well, I think maybe that's some, you do work. Well, nowadays anybody can publish. I mean, anybody's a publisher, but you work with what was the big one? What was it called?
Simon and Schuster and
yeah. Are they still
Hay
around?
House and Random House and I work with all of them. I'm actually getting into working a lot lately with some naturopathic doctors, which I love. Stepping away a little bit from some of the woo-woo.
Yeah, well, do they all know that you're? I know that you said that you've been, again, I was on your website reading everything, and also everybody, we will, we have a link to your website on your guest page, and I will be saying it before I say goodbye to you, your website, but your link, but also I spent some great time on there and just reading about what and the great video you did, but you mentioned that, like you said earlier, that you kind of backed away from doing readings, and now you're back up and out and offering readings. And does everybody that you deal with in the public, those kind of ways that maybe aren't, that are still on that level of mental, well, it's all about business, money. Do they know who you are, really? I mean,
it's really, really funny, because I actually sent out an email because I didn't want any surprises from people. When I first signed up with Shirley MacLaine's website, I was like, okay, it's sort of going to be out there everywhere now. People knew I owned the magazine, but they never knew what I did. They just knew I was very well connected to a lot of amazing people and famous people. But I sent a thing out on LinkedIn saying, here's a little secret of something you guys may not know about me. And then I did that on Facebook. And it was amazing how many people that I had booked people on their radio shows contacted me back and said, I had no idea you did this. Will you be a guest on my show? And I'm like, cool. Ariel
great.
Ford, you know who she is, right?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Ariel, I've known her for like 15 years. She never knew this about me at all.
Wow.
And I haven't gotten any negatives from anybody, even in the mainstream business world. It's been just, I think it was just time. It was time that I stepped in my power and just, be there for everybody.
Right. And you were embraced with open arms, weren't you?
I was, and I love that. I love that people weren't threatened by it. I have a couple real mainstream authors, and I was like, I'm going to have to tell them because they're going to know, they're going to hear about it. And one of them was a business lawyer, and I thought, oh, this guy's going to think I flipped a switch. And he says, well, great, tell Michael to sell my book. So, I think that when it's the right time for you to do whatever it is you're supposed to do, it just happens.
Yes, it does. It's interesting how that, and it does. You have such great energy. I really love it. I really love it.
Thank
I mean,
you. I'm enjoying the heck
good
out
for
of this.
you for. Well, it's you. Don't thank me. Thank you.
I think it's an energy that's going both directions, hon.
Thank you. You're wonderful. We only have a couple minutes left. I wanted to ask you. There goes the Harleys. I live down at the beach. Okay, vroom vroom. I'm sorry. Heard that,
I wish
Harley?
I was at the
It's not mine.
beach.
I know, it's great, Dan. But I wanted to ask you: is there anything that you would like to tell anybody before I don't want to, but I would have to say goodnight soon? Is there anything that you want anybody to know? I do have your website. If you want to say it out loud, that's fine too, because I will be doing it again. But is there anything that?
Sure. It's my website is readingsbydevra.com, And there's a link there. If you go to Shirley MacLaine's site to try and find me, you have to look under shopping and psychic readings. So I'm a little hard to find that way. But if you go to my website, Readings by Devra, or find me on Facebook under Readings by Devra, there's a link there to Shirley's site. And there's a couple different kinds of readings. And I do readings internationally. So if anybody's in another country, I just do them by Skype.
Yeah, that's great. Isn't that great nowadays, that technology? Because we do, like,
love it.
all over the world. It's fantastic. It's amazing. I love it. But, you know, we have actually your site that's on with your guest page as well. And I will be saying it after
Well, thank you.
Well, of course. Come on. Just yell out to the universe, hey.
I have enjoyed this. This hour just flew by, and I have enjoyed this so much. And I thank you both. My silent Brenda that's back there.
I know. And the boys
I'm taking it all in. And it's like, I feel like we're like the three witches around the corner.
Isn't that great?
But the good
witches. Oh, but good
the
witches.
Very good witches. The ones at the same, we dated ourselves, but still a camaraderie of those energies. Anyway, thank you so much, Devra. I really, really enjoyed you quite a bit. And
Thanks,
I'm happy you
Carla.
moved. The move you did okay with the move, except the Y. Okay, or flow, but Michael's there. Have him clean up with those wings. No, I'm joking. Don't worry, Michael. I didn't mean anything bad by that. Tell him.
You guys have a great evening.
Thank you so much, and have a great evening, and enjoy your new move into your home that you went to.
Thank you.
Thanks, I'll be talking to you again. Thanks, Devra. Bye-bye.
See you night, you guys.
Night.
Bye.
Hello, my name is Res Miranda. If you're having relationship, career, or life issues, I'm inviting you to experience what it's like to have access to professional, highly accurate psychics and spiritual advisors you can trust to care and help you. Register now to get your free 6-minute reading by telephone or chat. Get answers, get access, psychic access, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. PsychicAccess.com.